Why isn't it working? Maybe I should buy some rabbit ears. Oh! Hello! Oh, I was just peering in the multiverse with my viewfinder. You know what that means? It's time for another Reviewcap. And there we have it. My multiversal viewfinder has tuned in to the old school Essentials game. Yes, the ones that were assaulting Raven's Ruin. Let's find out what they've been up to. The Dungeon Master for this game has been perusing the old school Essentials Advanced Fantasy, and has begun to filter in some rules from that set, notably advanced combat rules and rules on starting spells. Going forward, magic users will start with a number of spells based on their intelligence as per OSE Advanced, as well as having to roll to learn spells. Elves will still use the basic starting spells system, however, to offset their other perks and to give magic users a slight edge in the magic department. As usual, the characters are represented by the Order of the Stick Monster for Every Season cutout minis. The players for this session are Neil, playing Nikolai Muerto, lawful magic user. Marcel, playing Legolost, a chaotic elf. George, playing Ferrus Oxarms, a lawful fighter. And Nathaniel, who previously ran Lothar, now brings in Colin Bush, a lawful cleric of Elona. Dean is playing Pyrus, a neutral magic user. And there is a special guest player for this session, Dean's young son Elliot, playing Darrence, a neutral elf. Picking up immediately where the last session left off, the group had decided to push deeper into the compound. They take 3 steps and reconsider given that 2 are dead, others are injured, and casters are out of magic. They immediately turn tail and reverse course and retreat back to Kleina. Back in Kleina, recovering from the goblin battle, the team recruits 2 newcomers, the cleric Colin Bush and the elf Darrence. Once everything is good to go, they arm up and march back into Raven's Ruin. Cautious about the ledge this time, they toss 2 torches up to see what happens, spooking 5 more goblins, who flee down the ladder and raise the alarm. Deciding to see what's behind the closed door they'd previously ignored rather than push forth, and to make sure no one comes up behind them, the team smashes in the door and enters the room. A trap falls on Ferrus, covering him with a sticky substance, and a bag full of feathers follows. He looks and feels ridiculous, as he should. The room is empty, save for a chest. They use a 10-foot pole to poke and prod, ultimately realizing the chest is safe. During this time, Darrence is using the goblin ledge to keep watch. A wandering monster check is made, and 4 kobolds attempt to sneak around the corner, but he spots them, and they him. Initiative is rolled, and he wins. He looses an arrow, killing the lead kobold, prompting a morale roll, which fails, and the kobolds flee back from whence they came. Back in the room with the chest, opening it, they find but a single copper coin tied to a scroll. They move the chest out into the entry hall to be collected later, then proceed deeper into Raven's Ruin as a group. At the first door, the group takes turns attempting to open it. They all have laughs as the strong characters fail, but Nikolai, with his 1 in 6 chance, succeeds. The laughter dies down when the door opens to reveal 3 goblins using an overturned table as cover. Nikolai is surprised, allowing the goblins to throw a round of daggers. One clips him, but doesn't kill him. Nikolai foolishly charges into the room, brandishing his dagger, followed by his friends who only join him because they wish to prevent their comrade's death. A fierce battle ensues, with Nikolai, Oscar, and Ferrus facing down the 3 goblins in hand-to-hand. Nikolai attempts to cast his magic missile spell whilst in melee, never a wise idea, but is killed during the attempt. Oscar and Ferrus also fall to the blows of the goblins defending their lair. The newcomer, Darrence, has a sleep spell, but refuses to use it, opting to save it for later. But the chance doesn't come, as during the battle the chaotic Legolost shoots into melee, which of course is a dangerous thing to do. The dice indicate Darrence as the target on a high attack roll, killing him by accident. As Pyrus is keeping watch in the hall, A lone goblin comes careening around the corner, off of a 1 in 6 chance that the fight attracts something from the wandering monster list. The goblin manages to kill Pyrrhus before being taken down himself by a shot from Legolas. The last remaining goblin's prowess and stern nerve, from 2 successful morale rolls, proves intimidating. Colin Bush finds himself in melee with no weapon and opts to punch his way out. Between him and Legolas' swordplay, they manage to finish off the goblin zealot. With the rest of the team dead, Legolas claims the spellbooks of Nikolai and Darrence. Then he and Colin flee as they hear more goblins coming.
Empty chairs at empty tables. Now my friends are dead and gone.
Back in Kleina, the next steps are discussed. Colin, as a member of the clergy of Elona, will not rest until the scepter stolen by the goblin raiders has been returned. Legolas's hatred of these goblins prompts him to continue the incursions into Raven's Ruin. The other players now bring in their characters. Neil playing Salt, neutral fighter. Elliot playing Gerhardt, a chaotic elf. Dean playing Parkour, a lawful cleric of Elona. George playing Reed, a neutral halfling. Once suited up, the new team re-enters the compound. All seems quiet. No goblins on the perch. No goblins in the ambush room. They push forth. Locked doors that the dim-witted Salt cannot force open. Listen checks prove fruitless. Coming to yet another door, they listen. And Colin hears hushed growls and mutterings on the other side. The group spends a few rounds trying to force it. After 5 failed attempts to bash it in, they try just opening it, which works. Inside, 2 goblins holding a pair of wolves on leashes let them loose to attack. A brick set on top of the door falls on Salt's head, prompting him to step back. Reed throws a spear at one of the wolves, while Gerhardt and Parkour move down the hall to another door they spot in the light, which turns out to be a second door to the same room. Reed's spear connects, prompting a morale failure of the injured wolf. It flees out the door, being watched by Parkour and Gerhardt. The other wolf moves in to attack Salt. The strike hits, killing him instantly. The 2 goblins flee through a southern door rather than engage. The wolf near Parkour flees with them, taking some parting shots on a tied initiative. The other wolf, however, is incensed. The fight is savage, with Legolas being reduced to a single hit point and Reed taking a bad bite as well. But ultimately, they triumph. Tied up and buried under a pile of ratty blankets and furs in the room, a man calls for help, and thus Neil's next backup is introduced. A cleric of Foltas named Secundus von Zuul. Rescuing this new ally, the team decides once again that the incursion to Raven's Ruin was too costly and retreats. Back in town, they heal up and learn that Secundus overheard the goblins talk about how their leader, a hobgoblin, keeps the scepter in his throne room. The group plots their next strategy, deciding that Raven's Ruin hasn't beaten them yet. The session ends here, and the group schedules the next game. This group is still in the midst of dealing with assault on Raven's Ruin, so no other modules came into play during this session. The DM did not restock the dead goblins, instead reducing the overall number from the compound to reset the initial ambush trap. On the group's third foray, the compound was even emptier. The group's catastrophic fight here was in part a result of the dice rolls going south, but only in small part. It was mostly down to bad strategy. The magic user Nikolai charging into melee with 3 goblins easily got him killed. Likewise, Legolas's insistence on shooting into melee cost the life of a teammate. Had Darrence but used his sleep spell at the start, the whole fight would have been over from the get-go. None of these are issues with the module, however, which continues to play as expected. I fully anticipate the group will complete it at their upcoming next session, after which I will review it in its entirety. Old School Essentials Advanced adds some fun options. Anyone familiar with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons will recognize quite a few things. For now, however, none of the new classes and races have been introduced. But updating to the advanced rules for combat, as well as the rules for magic, replaces some of the DM's house rules for this campaign. Notably, starting magic, where the DM is applying the bonus only to magic users, while elves starting magic remains based on the core fantasy rules. The DM is doing this to differentiate the two classes a little further, giving a little extra oomph to magic users. As I know what it's like to be a struggling young apprentice, it's a move I approve of, wholeheartedly. OSE Advanced doesn't otherwise detract from the core OSE rules, which remain a sight to behold. Smooth and fun, I can't recommend them enough. Stay tuned for my video review of the Old School Essentials rule set, which I hope to have live in a couple of weeks. I hope you've enjoyed this review cap. If you're enjoying these, please click on the subscribe tab and let others know. I shall see you anon, my friends.